Oh, let's get out of here. Doug Badger from the Heritage Foundation wrote a great article, The CDC and Mask Mandates, Unmasking the Truth, from Heritage Foundation. Doug, how are you, sir?
Doing well, Mike. How are you?
Really good, Doug. Let's run through this article here because I want the facts and I want the numbers and I want the studies and I want the data so that we can go and spread the word. So what is the CDC data telling us from their research?
Yeah, I think there are a couple things to say here. Obviously, emotions run high on this issue, as that segment just showed. I mean, there is evidence that masks do provide some source control protection. That is, if I have the disease and don't know it, the mask may make it less likely that I will transmit it to others. There's not strong evidence that masks protect me against getting infected. In fact, the only controlled study that was done of this in Denmark involving 6,000 people found that there was no significant difference among people who wore masks and didn't wear masks in getting infected with the coronavirus. So masks have some value, but perhaps not quite what people sometimes think they do. Secondly, there's the issue of mask mandates. What happens when the government says, well, you have to wear masks, or I don't know, we'll do something bad to you if you don't? The CDC published a study last November that compared counties in Kansas that had mask mandates with those that didn't. They concluded that those with mask mandates had performed better, that infections actually went down. Two of my colleagues at the Heritage Foundation, Kevin Diaratna and Norbert Michel, took those CDC data and tried to replicate them, and they didn't match up. In fact, what they were showing was that infections increased in the mask mandate counties over that period of time, not decreased. They finally got CDC to issue a correction, but the correction they issued was, well, our study didn't use the most updated data. What they didn't say was that when they did use the most updated data, it did not produce the results that they claimed in their paper. So a little bit of sloppiness on the part of the agency. I wish I could say that was uncharacteristic, that was the exception, but unfortunately, CDC has not really covered itself in glory over the last year or so in their handling of the pandemic.
I have a ton of questions. So let's go back to the first thing you said. So just to be clear, so the suggestion is that masks, if you're sick, masks will prevent some of the spread, but masks will not prevent you from contracting the virus if it's out there?
Yeah, and I'm talking about two different studies. The studies on the so-called source control value of masks, that is to say, if I have it preventing me from, I say preventing, reducing the risk that I will infect others, are based on you shoot aerosols through some cloth material and you measure how far the droplets go and how many droplets get through. The study of do masks protect me was actually in Denmark. You have 6,000 people, 3,000 wear masks, 3,000 don't. You send them out for a period of time, you test them frequently, and you find out that there's no statistically significant difference between the mask wearers and those who didn't wear masks in terms of who got infected. Now, what does the Centers for Disease Control say about that study? Again, the only controlled study that's ever been done of the protective value of masks, they don't say anything. They ignored it. That study came out on November 18. On November 20th was the first time CDC announced, masks protect you against infection. Their science brief that lays out the rationale for their policies. We're now in May. They still have not acknowledged the existence of that study.
And this conversation we're having now also seems like a pre-vaccine world. We're in a post-vaccine world, which I think is extremely different and I would argue makes masks completely moot. But we only have a minute here. So can you talk to me about the CDC and their incentives that they have? I don't want to put words in your mouth, so I'll just leave it like that. But I see so many people who just say, oh, the CDC says, the CDC says, the CDC says, and that's it. And they just turn off their brain and outsource all of their decision-making to the CDC. What do we need to know about the CDC as we take their recommendations in?
Well, I think you do have to take it with a grain of salt. Now, to their credit, they have said that vaccinated people outdoors don't have to wear masks. And I don't know if you guys saw the clip, but yesterday we had the Vice President of the United States and her husband on a tarmac wearing masks and kissing with their masks on. Now, even the CDC would say that's not following the science. But overall, I would just say that you need to look behind some of the CDC's recommendations. Look at their science briefs that present the studies, that presumably present the rationale, and the two don't always align.
Doug, I appreciate your work on this. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for going through the data and spreading the word to us so we can spread the word as well. Doug Badger from Heritage. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike.